Thank you all so much for being here. I've been thinking about you for the last couple of months, honestly, and I knew people would be here in this room. I just didn't know who they were, but I actually hoped people would be in this room because, you don't know whether you're going to have 2 people or whether you're going to have a room full like we do right now. So it's really great to see all of your voices. So in order to put today's presentation from me into context, I'll tell you just a little bit about me, and then I want to spend the rest of the time actually talking about you. My name is Marla Letizia, and I'm going to talk to you about a mindset to live, 100 years or more. But first I want to tell you that I am a lifelong Las Vegan. My family moved here when I was 2 years old in 1955. And there were 25,000 people. That's it. It's almost as much as you get in the Bellagio these days, right? But there were only 25,000 people living in this valley at that time. Barbara's shaking her head because she knows. In my lifetime, I have watched this town double 100 times to 2.5 million people. And if I could show you the videotape of my mind, it's just extraordinary. It's so extraordinary. Now, what I want to tell you is that I have never had more civic pride, and I hope you did too, than 3 weeks ago when we hosted the Super Bowl here, right? I mean, can we hoot and holler about that? Because I haven't been in a group of, that was a really bad hoot and holler, so I got to hear this. Everybody yell, scream, let's hoot and holler. Woo! There you go. Raise the energy a little bit in here. More civic pride. I mean, turn on the international news and you hear, well, Las Vegas seamlessly handled 300,000 people for Super Bowl weekend. And I'm thinking to myself, you've got to be kidding me. We seamlessly handled 300,000 people every New Year's Eve for the last 20 years, every 4th of July for the last 25 years, every 3-day weekend. I mean, this was a piece of cake, and it took you this long to have a Super Bowl here. So very, very, very proud of that. So I'll tell you, I am a daughter. My 93-year-old mother-in-law is right back here. Mom, raise your hand. My mother will be 91 years old next month. My father was 87 last month. I've been married 44 years to that handsome man back there, Tom Letizia. We have 2 adult children, one of them, Russell, the most handsome, kindest, eligible bachelor in all of Las Vegas, right here. We have a daughter who is a judge. I'm a Jewish mother, so I always have to say that. I have a daughter, she's a judge, and 2 grandchildren, 4 and 9 years old. I am a friend, and I'm telling you I am a friend for this reason, because my very best friend for 63 years is here in this room right now. Lisa, raise your hand. We met on the first day of 3rd grade because we were wearing the same dress. And we found out that we had 2 other same dresses in each of our closets because in Las Vegas there were only 2 children's dress stores at the time, right? And so we have had a relationship of best friendship for the last 63 years, so I'm really, really proud of that. Thank you, Lisa, so much. So you know that you are in the Long Life Era Speakers Room. So let me define for you exactly what the term Long Life Era means. I wanted to reframe and reimagine the words senior citizen. Because to me, those words sound like the end of a long journey. And not just an end, but a dead end. A dead end in which you are asked to get into a box, to be stereotyped and objectified in a way in which is not funny. And in fact, then you are asked to take that box, move it out of the lane altogether, and get parked off to the side. Turn your wallets over to the Wall Street pharmaceutical companies and your bodies over to managed health care. And yet, see, I'm seeing a lot of yes here, and yet, within your mind, your heart, and your body, and your soul, you know you have more purpose than that. You're not done. But where is the lane for you to jump back into? So we reframed it. And I may never have another chance again to thank these two people that helped me with the words long life era. Number one, my husband. I just have to do this. You don't mind the commercial really quick, right? My husband, who every morning on the way to the gym at 4:30 a.m. in the morning and on the way back, I would say, well, what do you think about these words, honey? Or what do you think about those words? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then every afternoon, when Lindsay was walking home from work, she lives in New York City, then we would get on the phone and I'd say, well, Tom and I came up with these words, and Tom and I came up with those words. And finally, after about a month of this, Lindsay, Tom, and I landed on the words long life era. And I really like them. Do you? Yes? Yes. And by the way, at the end of this, you all get a chance to win a long life era baseball cap. Stand up and turn around, Tanya, so they see it. I forgot to bring that wonder. There you go. Okay. So why? Why did I feel the need to reframe and reimagine this senior citizen time of life? So be here with me now. Find yourself in my moment, if you would, please. Welcome. Come on in. There's chairs up front here. Thank you. In the fall of 2022, I was about to celebrate my 51st class reunion. We were delayed a year because of COVID, so we celebrated 51 years as a class. It was being held at Spanish Trail Country Club. I walked into the most beautiful night. You know, it was early October, but the heat had broken in the middle of September. It was warm, but it was cool outside. It was cool, but it was warm. It was just, you know, those October nights, right? We wait for those October nights. And I walked out onto the public patio, and then I could look down onto the private patio, down a flight of stairs, and I saw an amazing group of 150 beautiful people standing on that patio, standing erect, talking to each other, smiles on their faces. They were dressed wonderful, Lindsay. You will be happy to know that. I could hear the hum of their conversation. I heard soft music of our generation playing in the background, and I could hardly wait to go down those stairs to have conversation with those people. One of the things that I was really connected to is that those same kids at 70 years old, 69, 70 years old, are a lot more confident in who they are than they were when they were 18 years old. And that was really nice to see. The ego had taken a step to the side. It was clear, though, that everybody had lived through their own midlife crises, and through that crisis actually had come their wisdom. And they were unafraid to have that conversation. Well, I left there that night, and I was so on a high. I mean, really on a high. It was just such the most beautiful night. Tom was already asleep when I got home. I learned not to take him to my reunions after the first 10 years. And I was too wound up to go to bed, so I turned on the TV. Now, let me tell you, I have no idea what I was actually watching, but let me tell you the commercial that came on the air. Let me tell you the commercial. It was a scene of a patio with about 150 senior citizens standing on that patio. Looked nothing like the 150 people I just left. They were dressed in clothes that I am telling you nobody in this room is wearing. I don't know where they got the costumes, seriously, because they were costumes. They looked like my grandparents' generation. They do not look like any of us sitting in that room. a voiceover of an announcer who literally was talking to them in the most sing-songy, kindergarten voice, talking literally, and the camera angle, I just realized this, the camera angle was actually looking down on them. Right? Oh my God. We know this, right? We've seen it. We've all seen it. Talking to them in this sing-songy voice, and then if that couldn't get worse, they were given by the producers and the directors questions to ask the voiceover guy. Well, and they were also in the sing-songy voice. Well, does that mean that we can do whatever it was? And I'm thinking, they made these people look like they had lost 20 to 25 points of their IQ in the last 20 years. Well, let me tell you, I was beyond. Talk about a buzzkill. I had it like right then and there, the buzzkill of a lifetime, and I went to bed. I really didn't think much about it, but you know, in the back of my mind over the next 2 or 3 days, I realized that I was going to be 70 in 3 or 4 months. And it really hadn't impacted me because, hey, I always thought I was going to live to 120, so 60 plus 60 was 120, and I felt like I was in midlife for my whole life, incorrectly so, perhaps. And 70 started to wear on me, really because of this commercial. And I started to doubt myself. Hi, Donna, come on in. I started to doubt find a seat anywhere, there's so many. Come up front. Drop your yoga mat and come on in. I started to lose my confidence. I didn't realize it, but the message in the back of my head from that commercial that night. So I walked in to lead a meeting that I had led for the last 10 years. I had chaired this meeting. Now, I have to say I'm a good leader. And I go in organized. Nancy noticed that about me. Thank you very much. I'm always very proud of that. Organized, in control, always getting things done. And when I walked in that room, I looked around and I asked myself, oh my God, maybe I'm the only one in this room that doesn't realize I'm irrelevant now. Maybe people have been waiting for me to get out of the lane. Like, what am I doing in here? I don't belong here. I'm too old for this. I shouldn't be doing it. And I couldn't lead the meeting. It was soul crushing. Soul crushing. Hi, come in. Right here. There's a seat. Okay, that's great. More space up there. Thank you. So I asked someone sitting next to me if they could lead the meeting, and they did. And so I left. And for the next few months, I suffered. I didn't know what to do with myself. And I actually didn't know how to define myself all of a sudden. It was really hurtful. Well, I brought along something to show you guys. This is not the commercial I saw, but it is something that represents a lot of things. And so I want to play it for you. This is Martha. Does anybody remember seeing Martha? Oh, yes, right? If this was not the most insulting thing you've ever seen in your life. Ready? Here we go.
No, but she's a bit cranky because she heard the 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available during the Medicare annual enrollment period, and she wants details.
I'm already on Medicare. Why should I call and check up on my Medicare plan?
Hi, Martha. Medicare plans and benefits can change each and every year. That's why it's important to call to get your free 2024 Medicare benefits checkup.
I already have my Medicare card. I am not calling.
Martha, right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available, so everyone on Medicare can call to see if a Medicare Advantage plan may be better for you. You can even call to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the coming year.
They probably won't answer the phone.
Well, Martha, if you call 800-267-4951, a licensed insurance agent will speak with you and look up your plan options and see if there is a plan that will better fit your healthcare needs.
Why don't I get these automatically?
Martha, 2024 plans are now available, but you won't get a 2024 Medicare Advantage plan automatically.
I think I called before. so I'm not calling.
Martha, right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. 2024 plans are now available, so now's the time to call. So everyone on Medicare should call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period and get your free Medicare benefits checkup today. Just call the toll-free number on your screen. It's free.
Free?
Yes, Martha. The call and no obligation Medicare benefits checkup are free.
Okay, now let me tell you a lot of things about this. First of all, anybody that grew up in the year of Vegematic knows that 1-800 is a free call. And oh, by the way, aren't all calls free in the United States now, right? Like he's talking to her like she still has a phone attached to her wall with a cord on it, right? Second of all, let me tell you something. I looked this actress up. She's in her late 40s, early 50s. Yeah, they made her up. That's a wig. Look at her chest and neck. I mean, it looks better than mine, right? She is an actress. What is that smock that she's wearing? Yeah, I mean, really. Yeah, your grandmother wore that. You know what? My grandmother didn't even wear it, honestly. Listen, I asked myself, who is it that is writing these commercials? Who is it? And by asking the question, I really had the answer, which is 25 and 35-year-old copywriters in ad agencies who this is their image of older people, those of us living in our long life era. And why? I don't know. Because we live in an anti-aging society. And so this is what they believe. And I also want to say this about that. They probably thought this was funny. But I have to tell you, I was also told in my life that if you think something is funny, but one person in the room isn't laughing, it's not funny. It's not funny. So let's talk about the eras of our lives. So let's just define them really quick, and we'll get into the mindset. So here we go. Let's go on this ride. Number 1, first 18 years of life, childhood era. Second 18 years of life, young adulthood. That takes you to 36 years old. 36 to 50, midlife. Guess what? Midlife, 14 years, the shortest era of your life. Anybody ever tell you that? Went fast. Went very, very fast. 50 starts long life era. Now, I know you don't believe me, but let me ask you this, and you're going to all know the answer. What did you get that week of your 50th birthday? Yeah, that's right. AARP magazine met you in the mailbox. How did they find me? You know, I picked it up by the corner. I was afraid if I held it in my hand that it would like get in my body. And I'm going to tell you, I was beyond insulted. Beyond insulted. I ran it over to the trash can and I threw it away. But by age 55, I was way so happy to, yes, I'll take my senior citizen discount at the movie theater, right? And then we move, we move on with our lives. So I want to go back to the midlife era. Let's go back to those 14 years. Look it up. This is called the U curve of happiness. At the top, where we are the happiest, is about when we go into our teenage areas. Clinically, we get unhappier and unhappier and unhappier until we bottom out right here at midlife. True. And right about 48 to 52 is when happiness comes back. And why? And it continues to come back because we begin to connect to purpose and truth. Listen, here's the reason why that midlife crisis happens. We come out of our striving brains because we begin to grow and change. And those striving brains turn into the chrysalis brains. This is why we wake up one day and say, I've been married to somebody for 20 years and I'm not happy. And you go for your divorces, midlife crisis, because you want to be happy. You know when you're happy and when you're not. Why do we leave these jobs that we're trapped in or get fired from? Because we're not happy and we want to turn into happiness. And so we begin to go up the U curve of happiness. Now let's go back to midlife. We've got to do the math on midlife, because when we are in midlife, we are not standing in our wisdom, we are standing in our crisis. And when we meet with that crisis, that is when our greatest wisdom comes into our hearts, our minds, our bodies, and our souls. Now, listen, the data doesn't lie. Let's do the math. Average life expectancy in America is 79.6 years. So let's round it up to 80 years. 80 years of life. 40 plus 40 is 80. Midlife, in that scenario, is 40 years old. Now, how many are baby boomers in here? Raise your hand. Okay, so the majority of us are baby boomers. We are expected to have a longer life than any other generation on the planet. I mean, as if we haven't hit more records. So let's call it 90. 45 plus 45 is 90. And after you leave here today, you're going to live to 100. 50 plus 50 is 100. So you can see, even if we gave it 5 years in the margin of error, we are all in our long life era. And this is the thing. We live in an anti-aging society. Midlife is a metaphor. Midlife is a metaphor for purpose, energy, vitality, creativity, continuing to live. We hang on to midlife with our teeth, our toenails, our fingers, every last breath we have. And why? Because none of us want to be looked at like we are Martha. We live in an anti-aging society where no one wants to admit that they're old, but do any of us really want to die young? Nobody does. So what's the alternative there? Look like a Kardashian to try to get through it? Did you laugh? I like that. Okay, I was worried. I didn't know if that would get a laugh or not. Okay. So the thing about midlife, it's a beautiful time, but it's not the easiest of times. But at 50 years old, as we move into our long life era, happiness begins to seep into our bones. Now, let's talk about the mindset. A mindset to live 100 years or more. So, hi, Cheryl. Hi, Tony. Come on in. Just find a seat. Okay, there's 2 seats up here. Hi, come on in, guys. Come on. It's okay. You guys look like you survived last night well. Okay. So what is, Oh, I survived the 60s twice. There you go. Okay. So, what is mindset? Can anybody define mindset? Anybody want to give it a try? No? Okay. Mindset is a belief and a mental attitude that determines how you interpret and respond to your life and your own life situations, okay? Mindset is a belief and mental attitude that determines how you interpret and respond to your own life situations. Now, let's talk about 3 areas of your health. There's physical health and cognitive health. You see doctors for that. You want to see them keep up with your numbers. You can change everything about your body and your health as long as you stay up with your numbers. Go to your doctor, but don't make your doctor your pastime and don't make it your hobby. Just go for when you need to go to get what you need to get and try to stay out of the system if you can, okay? There's a lot of life to live at this age, and we want to get you to do that. Third area of health, which is the most complicated, is your emotional health. Now, these are the things that contribute to your emotional health. Top of the line, joy, hope, contentment, love, happiness. That's all part of your emotional health. The other side of your emotional health, fear, anxiety, depression, anger. Worst of all, hopelessness. Hopelessness. Now, for those, you need a clinical psychologist. But I want to tell you that let me just tell you something else instead. Contained right there inside your emotional health is a small little thing called, go ahead, no problem, come on in, it's okay. Inside your emotional health, this one small little thing called mindset. And that mindset actually controls 85% of your entire life. Mindset. Now, I'm not a doctor, an MD, and I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I am somebody who has lived 71 years, and I've had a lot of life experience. And so I feel like I want to take that wisdom and share this with you. So here we go. Who knows who Roger Bannister is? Anybody? Raise your hand if you know who Roger Bannister is. Okay, yep. Okay, we have a few people. So let me tell you. Roger Bannister was the first man in human history, since it was recorded, that ran the sub 4-minute mile, meaning he ran a mile in less than 4 minutes. For over 100 years, it was believed that the human male was not engineered to run that mile in less than 4 minutes. It was a belief. It was a mental attitude. It was a mindset. And for years, men were trying to break it. Well, Roger Bannister believed he could do that. He believed it. And he worked, and he practiced, and he believed, and he worked, and he practiced. And on May 6th, 1954, Roger Bannister became the first man in over 100 years of keeping records to run that 4-minute mile in less than 4 minutes. And I'll get back to you in a minute, okay? And what happened next will surprise you. In less than 6 weeks later, the second man broke his record by a second, but a second man did it. And why? Because he changed his mindset and he believed that it could be done. Someone proved it could be done. And then 3 months later, the third man did it. To date, 1,755 men and boys have broken that record. And what's really crazy about that mindset is that it was believed that you had to be a fully developed male, muscles and tendons all considered, to break the record, until about 20 or 25 years ago when some 16-year-old did it, and then go figure, all these other high schoolers have done it too. So you can see that mindset is a big piece of what we do and how we do it. So let's talk. Henry Ford said it best, which is, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, either way you are right. Either way you're right. Now, let's talk about the insurance salesman. Mr. and Mrs. Smith call the life insurance salesman and say, "Hi, we want to buy life insurance." "Hi there, seat right there. There you go. Welcome. Thank you." Life insurance knocks on the door. They open the door. He comes in. Life insurance goes, and they invite him to sit at the table. They open the briefcase. In the briefcase, he starts, pulling out the products that he's going to sell them. And they're making casual conversation, getting him a cup of coffee. Everything is rolling along. And the life insurance agent, just casually, not even looking at them in the eye, says, "So, Mr. Smith, how long do you see yourself living?" And believe it or not, Mr. Smith, in a very casual way, not even thinking about it, gives the life insurance agent a number of how long he thinks he's going to live. It was asked casually for a reason. Because the life insurance agent is there to make maximum profit. And based on that answer, that tells him what product to pull out of his briefcase. And how does he know that? Because life insurance, any kind of insurance, is full of data and actuaries. And this is what the life insurance agent knows. 85% of all people who usher forward a number die at that number. Mindset is 85% of your life. Now let me tell you a story. Friend Peter Guzman, Latin Chamber of Commerce, anybody know? Great guy. There you go. Very tight Cuban family. God bless you. Very tight Cuban family. He's the youngest of 4, loved his dad like no tomorrow. And at the age of 6 years old, he tells a story that someone in the family passed away. And he, at 6, never understood that life was temporary. And he was in shock, and he was heartsick, and he said to his dad, "Poppy, I never want to lose you. I can't lose you. I love you so much, Poppy. Never leave me." And Poppy would answer him, "Don't worry, son. I'm going to live till I'm 83. Few years later, he says to his dad, "Poppy, I love you so much. I never want to lose you. Don't worry, son. I'm going to live till I'm 83. This went on for 35 to 40 years. "Poppy, I love you." One morning, when Poppy was 83 years old, Poppy got up and walked from his bedroom on his way to the kitchen to get his morning cup of coffee, and he didn't make it to the kitchen. Mind is a powerful thing. Now, before I move on, I just want to say one thing because I was surprised to see it. I saw all of your faces. For a brief moment, when I said, "So, Mr. Smith, how long do you see yourself living?" For a brief moment, most all of you took your eyes off of me, and they went up to the side or down, whichever way you use your eyes to think, and all of you probably heard a number in your head. Now, that number might surprise you, but here's what I want to tell you. Why? Why is that your number? You must connect to it, because it could be something like when you were 6 years old, somebody, an adult, said, "Oh, nobody should live past X," and he was an adult or she was an adult, and you took that into your soul and believed it. Or it could be you yourself at any stage of your life saw somebody you love get sick and then suffer for the next 10 years, and you erroneously have said to yourself, "Well, I don't want to live that long because I don't want to suffer." But you don't know that. You don't know that. And I wouldn't let Martha and all those cronies make you feel less than you should about yourself. Because if you are living in your long life era, the longest era of your life, just think about this for just a minute. Just think about this. You could live 50 more years. Don't let that stop you from doing it. If you're 80, you could live more than 20 years. Don't let that stop you. Now, if you're a man and you're in this room, raise your hand. Raise your hand, men. Okay, I want to know where you are. That's why I asked. That's good. I get a laugh on that. That's cute. Okay. This is my husband's favorite joke. It's a Catskills joke. You know, you could see Hetty Youngman asking it. Ready? You guys are ready for this, right? Why do men die before their wives? They want to. That's it. That's the answer. Because they want to. Oh, my God. Tom loves that joke. He tells it all the time. So... But listen, how many of you, I know you're all laughing, that's good, I like that. So listen, how many of you men, first of all, I want to tell you something about yourself, men. You are loved. You are important to this world. You are loved, you're important to this world, and this world could not be what it is without you guys. And I don't know, it just seems to me, and this is off the subject, but it just seems to me for the last 20 years, men have been beat up like hell, and I'm just kind of friggin' sick of it. So I just want you to know how important all of you are. Oh, that's my new podcast. That's my new podcast. Okay, so look. You have heard that men do not live as long as women. You've heard that. Is that true? Is that true? Well, I know it seems like it because it depends when they take the data. It depends when they take the data, because here's what I want you to know. That if you go to the blue zones all across the world and you look at all the long-living centenarians in all these blue zones around the world, guess what? There are equal men to women over 100 years old. So do men live shorter lives than women? I don't know. It depends when you take the data. And I want to tell you one other thing, because Nancy mentioned about relationships. Relationships are critically important in the long life era. And men over 60 that are living alone are the most at risk for illness and health. I mean, there was a statistic that Nancy just gave from the book From Strength to Strength, which is those that are living at age 50 in good relationships last so much longer. At age 80, they're healthier. So let's connect to the fact that maybe some of those things that we believe are maybe not right. So, how many centenarians do we have living in the United States at this moment? So if you've heard me say it before, don't yell it out. It's really fun to really think about our own mindset about how many people, centenarians, which are people 100 years or more, that are living still in the United States. So go ahead.
I think I recently read 822,000.
No, that's a lot. 100,000, that's a good number. Anybody less? Anybody else? Any idea? I mean, I thought there couldn't be more than 2,500 because I had only known two in my whole life, and here in Las Vegas, and they were both men, believe it or not. There are 89,000 centenarians that are currently living in the United States, and I think there's 820, what? 89,000. Yeah, no, 89,000. And I think the 822,000 is worldwide. Worldwide, there's 822,000, but 89,000 here in America. And the thing about that is that is the greatest generation. Those are still the people that were born 1901 to 1924. 1925 starts the silent generation. That's your generation, Mom. And those people, and those people will be turning 100 next year. Oh, not for this talk, there's not. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. So I thought, how wonderful would it be not only to change our mindset, but as the baby boomer generation starts to take on longevity, because we're supposed to be the longest living generation in history, to create a mindset. And this is the long life centenarian mindset. And it says, I recognize living a healthy, long life to 100 years and beyond is entirely possible. I embrace, that was your word, Tony, I embrace becoming a centenarian is part art and part science. The art being your mindset. The science being stay in touch with your numbers. I believe from this point forward, I am the artist and the scientist of my own long life destiny. Now, each one of you are going to get one of these when they're printed out, and you can all have one on your way out the door. If you want, you can go to that QR code right there and just scan it, and you can put in your name and email address, and then it gets emailed to you automatically. The goal is that you'll be one of 120,000 people that embrace the mindset, and I think that if we start there, we can really make a difference in everybody's life. Now, several people have done that, and what I want you to know is I have 3 incredible miracles of people that reached out to me that talked about the difference embracing the mindset has made in their life. Number 1, a friend, 71 years old, lost his dog. And he said, I mean, he didn't lose him, but he had to say goodbye to him. And he said, I'm just too old to get another dog. I just, I don't want to outlive my dog, or I don't want my dog to outlive me. And so he had decided that he was just too old to get another dog. And then he did this, and he wrote to me and he said, Marla, you're not going to believe this, but just like 3 or 4 days later, I thought, wait a minute, I could live another 30 years. I could have 2 more dogs. And so he went out and got a dog. Yay for him, right? I know someone else who said, well, you know, this is going to be the last car I ever buy. This is going to be the last car I ever buy. Well, I've decided, you know, I'm getting older. This is going to be the last car I ever buy. He embraced the mindset. And you know what? He realized he could have 2 more cars, just like he could have 2 more dogs. And he went out, traded his car in, and he got a brand new car. And I want to tell you something about somebody that I know who was a centenarian. He died at 103, Henry Kronberg. You know Henry. Henry went out at the age of 98 years old and bought a red Tesla. I mean, and the thing about Henry is that he's also a Holocaust survivor. And so talk about a life crisis that he had lived through, that he could spring back from that with hopefulness and joy is absolutely incredible. But I said, Henry, a red Tesla at 98 years old? And he said, Marla, I'm not dead yet. And besides, I like picking up women and taking them out on a date in a nice car. Who wouldn't want to get in this car? And he's true. He was a wonderful person. Now, I really want to tell you another story. And our friend, Dr. Jean over here, raise your hand. This is her story. She has really bad knees. And she was really suffering, and she was struggling. I interviewed a 103-year-old in the Long Life Era community Facebook group. And in that conversation, I asked the 103-year-old, so do you have any aches and pains? Are you, is there anything like, do you have any problems? And she said, no, not really. When I was in my early 70s, so think about this, that was 30 years ago, she got both of her knees replaced. And she said, I was in so much pain before I did that had I not done it, I could have never lived this long because the pain was unbearable. Well, that conversation took place about 3 months before the mindset came out. Jean embraced the mindset, and about, a little bit later, I don't know how many days or weeks or whatever it was, Jean, but she said, I am living with this knee pain, and I just thought I had to live with the pain because really, how much longer do I have to go? But you know what? She knows now how much longer she has to go. And why live in pain? She's active. She knows that knees keep your balance and keep you from falling. And Jean went and got her first knee replacement last month, right? And not only that, filmed herself, her husband filmed her right before she went in and right after she came out and during her therapy, and they posted it all on our Long Life Era Community Facebook group, and it's been an inspiration. In fact, my husband, after he saw Jean do that, scheduled his own knee replacement. So I'm really happy and excited about that. So I want to say to all of you, embrace the mindset. Embrace the mindset. Now, how do we collectively transform the mindset of American culture around aging? How do we do that? Well, you just saw a simplified process in which you are thinking about your number and why it's your number and about moving that number up. You also know you do not have to listen to Martha and 2 months of Medicare Advantage open enrollment commercials that make you want to slit your throat and not live. But they're free. Call 1-800. Yeah. Listen. Medicare should hire me to run their program. So look, I'm going to tell you something that you may not know. And it's something we should start talking about ourselves to our family and our friends and everyone we know. Let's start this conversation. Here's what I want you to know about you and you and you and you and you. We are the national treasures of wisdom in this country. We are the national treasures of wisdom. We live through this. We have wisdom from this part of our lives. That's how we got to where we are. You are national treasures of wisdom. And in every other country around the world, in Japan, in China, in India, in Mexico, in Cuba, there is no doubt that the people living in long life eras are not revered by their cultures. I don't know what happened here. I mean, I think I remember this as part of our culture when I was growing up, but I don't know where it went. And I want you to know that it is important that the very first thing you do is recognize and say that you know you are a national treasure. And when your doctor talks to you like you're a kindergartner, don't be Martha, don't be grouchy, don't be that, but just politely say, I know you must think that I lost 25 points in my IQ in the last 20 years, but if we could just talk like we're adults to each other, I probably could understand this better. There's nothing wrong with that truth. Nancy talked about truth. Just stand in your own truth. And I want to tell you this. Wisdom cannot be taught. Wisdom cannot be taught. Wisdom is shared. Wisdom is shared. And this world, this country, wants to know what your wisdom is because it is important. It is important. So, there is already a shift happening in this country. I don't want to let it go. I just added this at the last minute, so if I went a tiny bit long, yeah. Okay, so look, there's already a shift happening, and I want to tell you what it is. For the first time in history, 5 generations are actually in the workplace. 5 generations, and they're not there because in 2008 our 401ks went to 201k. That's not why they're there. They got through that, and right now they're there because they've reinvented themselves. I mean, David Sugar is sitting here. I know, you hate this, but listen, he was in the casino business for 35 years, and every night he got home and went home and he played guitar for up to 2 hours every single day of his life while he was working in the casino industry. When he was a kid, his parents, maybe rightfully so, I don't know, said, listen, you can't support a family playing guitar, so you need to get a real job. And he did. But now, guess what David Sugar's doing? Raise your hand, David, so they all know. He is playing guitar 2 times a month at the Whole Foods in Green Valley. We all went last night to see him. Yeah, and he's loving it. There you go. And there are many others that and he's getting paid. He's getting paid. So Airbnb, the CEO of Airbnb realized something, and it transformed what is going on in the Silicon Valley. So and it wasn't Airbnb. It was his board. It was his chief executive team. I really want you to hear this. I really do. Okay. All eyes on you, Tony. So I want to tell you this. You know, these Silicon Valley engineers in their 20s and early 30s, they're geniuses. We all know that. They went in, they opened up all kinds of companies and took in public money, and then somehow along the way, they went broke. And the CEO of Airbnb decided and figured out, because he's a genius, we can all see that the reason that those companies were going bust is because they didn't have enough wisdom in 20s and 30s to grow companies in a competitive environment. And so what did that CEO do? He hired 2 60-year-olds. He called them chief executive CEWs, chief executive wisdom. They were the CEWs of Airbnb. And look what happened to Airbnb, and it continues to grow. And the other companies in Silicon Valley have started doing the same thing. They are hiring CWOs, Chief Wisdom Officers, that's what it is, Chief Wisdom Officers. And so I am telling you, whatever that wisdom is and experience is that you're holding on to, there is a market for it. There is a market. Now, I don't want to just depress you with Martha. I don't want to depress you, but I really want to lift you up. I brought this other commercial for all of you to watch. Isn't it great? You might, yeah, look at you. So I want to just say this, if you haven't seen it, and even if you have, just pay attention to the main character and how she looks when she's in her own home. That lasts like 2.5 seconds, so keep an eye out. Now, when I saw this opening frame of the commercial, the week before Thanksgiving, still in the middle of open enrollment, I said, oh, God, I can hardly wait to see what this is. I mean, after all, 3 old women sitting on a park bench in the snow. I was ready. But that's right. But what I saw was lifting. It was lifting. It lifted all of us. So if you're ready, here we go. I mean, it gets me every time. I don't know how I'm going to get through the rest of this. But it's only a minute long. I mean, didn't they slay it for us? And the faces, their faces, when they're going down the hill that turn into themselves as children, reminds us all that at any age, that joy is still in our hearts. And we need to come out and let that be here and be present in everything that we do. We are the national treasures of wisdom. We're not doing this for ourselves so much, but for our children and our grandchildren and the generations that come after us. They are looking to us to show them how to live with longevity in this era of our lives. We're the matriarchs and the patriarchs of the long life era. And so let's just all be an example of how to live. Thank you all so much.